Good morning, YouTube. Let's talk about the cooling pad on the 15-inch MacBook Air here. Is it beneficial? The short answer is kind of yes. Okay, the long answer is kind of like this. It's not that long, don't worry. So what I've noticed is with and without the cooling pad, video editing, compressing later with the compressor, okay, there's a 1 degree difference in temperature. That's about it, okay? Now, we do find though with the cooling pad, even for that 1 degree cooler, all right, we are gaining an extra few seconds, all right, above what we get for without the cooler. So we're saving a few more seconds, all right? Now, the total time actually saved in comparison to say my M1 Mini, it's about a minute. It's roughly a minute, okay? Total savings with the cooling pad. Without the cooling pad, it's definitely less than a minute difference, which does not make this thing 25 or 50% faster than an M1, okay? Not by any stretch, because we still have a huge problem here. The M1 Mini, okay, it has an 8-core CPU, as you know, for performance, for efficiency. Video editors and compressors, for example, in this scenario, they use performance cores, right? Now, our performance cores are only 3.2 gigahertz per core on the M1. On the M4, they're 4.4 gigahertz, okay? So we have the same 4 performance cores. We have a 10-core processor, okay? But we're only using performance cores with video editors and compressors. We're not using any of the P cores. So we're not really reaping that much benefit there, okay? And for the amount of software out there that runs on efficiency cores, our efficiency cores are 3 gigahertz on the M1, though I only have 4 of them. In this case, on the MacBook Air here, I have 6 performance cores at 2.9 gigahertz. So they're actually 100 gigahertz slow, or sorry, 100 megahertz slower per core, right? But at least there's 6. But for the amount of programs that actually use efficiency cores, it's not really that substantial, right? So even in day-to-day operations, the things that do run efficiencies, it's not that massive of a boost, okay? Now, because we are getting a technically faster machine, okay, which is true, it's technically faster, at least on the performance side, programs do launch rather rapidly, okay? So I can appreciate GarageBand. One click, and it's up, like that's fast, all right? So that's definitely faster than the M1. Now, when we talk about an internet browser like Chrome or Safari, they will each launch and only one bounce and they're up. Like it's like boof, okay? Boof again, right? Go to Apple's website, it's fast. Nothing wrong with that, okay? Because we do have a faster machine, things are going to get done faster, okay? But this is no 25 or 50% more speed increase between an M1 and an M4, okay? So now we do find also that these machines are very efficient on battery life, very efficient, period. So they're still not using a ton of power, which is kind of nice, but they are using a bit more power for that performance edge over an M1. So that will, you chew up more juice, you get more performance, you're going to get things happening a little bit faster, okay? Now, a game like Minecraft, of course, it can sit here and it can do a few bounces, usually about 7 or 8 bounces, and it'll finally fire up. Now, once it's up, it's fantastic, it's great. One of the things I notice is when it comes to loading my world, for example, okay? Now, I've done this with brand new worlds, the same layouts, okay, for large biomes, okay? So if we click on this, 0% to 100, it's that fast. That's equal, if not slightly faster than my PC, okay? But by maybe 2 milliseconds quicker. That's pretty good. Even loading up all the graphics and rendering the graphics in here is a lot faster because we also have a lot more GPU cores too. Instead of 8, we've got 10. we have the same amount of RAM in this as my M1. Okay, so 16 gigs is 16 gigs, right? But it is slightly faster RAM too, which really helps with the GPU side. So, because graphics needs fast video RAM. So, Apple's getting a little bit better. They still got a ways to go yet though. However, in playing this game normally would pretty much throttle an M1 Air without thinking twice. Okay? And of course, being the fact that it is a hog, it's going to do that. I didn't even break 50 degrees on this game playing it. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, my M1 Air couldn't even pull that off, even before I ran out of RAM. You know, it's like, holy geez, that's good temps, okay? These chips run cooler. So that helps with performance, obviously, okay? But I'm not going to say it's 25 or 50% because that's unrealistic. Okay, now, in the overall scheme of things, just with a cooling pad alone, is it worth getting one? For the battery, yes. For the rest of it, really, it's not much to write home about. When you're dropping 1 degree Celsius and you're gaining a few extra seconds, some of you will think, well, that's a big increase. That's a lot of savings. Not really, though, okay? What does help is that it will keep the battery a lot cooler because there's a few things that kill your battery, one of which is heat. Heat is a major destroyer of batteries. If you are constantly drawing like a mother on a battery, even if you had a lower cycle count, your battery is going to degrade faster because batteries hate heat, okay? Which is the same thing as, let's say I've got my phone off the charger, okay, and I'm yakking on the phone, my battery might drop about 10%, okay, by the time I'm done. But my phone's going to be awfully warm because that battery is being drawn on like a mother. And if I immediately put it back on the charger, I'm charging a hot battery. And that amount of time is not enough time to build the battery hot enough where it needs to cool down before taking on a charge again. Okay, it's close, but not quite. So what happens is you end up charging a hot battery, which will also degrade its lifespan. So you can have a low cycle battery with low cycle health because you're doing that, and you shouldn't. Okay, you should always let it cool down first until it's back to room temperature, then throw it back on the charger. Same as when you're using your MacBooks, okay? If you're using them off the charger, all right, this thing's hot, the battery's going to be hot too. And you plug it in, you start charging, okay? And it's going to degrade your battery faster. So shut it down, let it cool off for a bit, then put it back on the charger. Your battery will last longer, so you can build higher cycles, and then degrade your battery the normal way, okay? Or like me, I mean, I use it as a desktop 99% of the time, so my battery will outlast any battery from anybody else probably out there that doesn't do what I do, okay? So, but as far as the cooling pad goes, it is beneficial for battery health, sustainability, especially on or off the charger, okay? It's going to be better for it, for the battery side. Performance-wise, that one degree Celsius and that little bit of extra speed is not a lot to write home about. So for that, I don't think the cooling pad is going to be a benefit or a bad point either way, because a couple of seconds is only a couple of seconds, all right? I do have more and more testing I want to do, which will lead toward a long-term update down the road. You'll probably see, I don't know, maybe 2, tops 3. By the time we get to a third review on this, it'll be like, is this MacBook still any good in like 2029? Okay, kind of thing. That's about where we're sitting at this point. Or 2028. We'll see. Because we're looking right now, this is what, June? Because this is when I got it, June 4th. So June of 2025, this is where we're sitting at. It's been out on the market for a couple of months only, which is kind of nice. It's probably the newest Mac I've bought in a long time. But we'll say June of 2027, we'll have a final or update, or we'll have a video of is it still viable? Okay, 3 years down the road, right? That's where we could be sitting at. There's people right now still, they won't upgrade even from an M1 Air that they have 16 gigs of RAM in, because the thing is still working absolutely perfect for them. But that M1 Air is also, it doesn't perform the same way this does. Okay, and that M1 Air is not that great for playing Minecraft with either. This thing definitely is. My M1 Mini is really good for Minecraft because it has a cooling system in it, but it's also a desktop, it's not a laptop. There's a big difference. Even with having the same core counts, doesn't matter. Having a really good cooling system makes a computer perform better. This has zero cooling, other than our fans right now from our cooling pad, which does help. But it doesn't help a lot, okay? But for what it does help, at least it's helpful. So if you want to get a tiny bit of performance and you want to have a better life out of your battery so that it stays cooler even under a heavier load, then I would say yes, definitely invest in a cooling pad. It is worth your while. As far as thermal pads go, we're not talking about that on this video because I'm not going to experiment with it, but I will tell you this much. Don't do it, because it is going to be harmful to your computer, because you will suffocate it with those thermal pads. And once they reach maximum soakage of heat, that's where they defeat themselves and they become problematic instead of helpful to you. And the same goes for your SSD drives. If you use those thermal pads, you will be replacing drives a lot sooner than me. In fact, I've yet to replace an SSD, and I run the living snot out of my Thunderbolt drives as well as my SSD drives, because two different case types. I've never had an issue, and I have done extensive testing with thermal pads and always found them that the drives run exceedingly hotter even at a resting point, but even worse off when I'm running those drives, making them work when using thermal pads. But without them, they run much cooler, stabler, faster, no problems for me. But to each their own, do as you wish. On that note, thank you so much for watching, checking out the video. If you have any comments down below, you know where to make them. Let me know what you think. And we'll see you on the next one. Ciao.